Good evening. This is the ASCA board meeting for May 14, 2020. For those of you who do not know how this works, we're going to go down the agenda and discuss each item. We go around and allow all directors to say what they think about the item, whatever they want to discuss. And then if there is need for a motion, then we go ahead and have that motion and vote on it. So today present is Denise, Gina, Jan, Jean, Judy, Rachel, Rick, Warren, and myself, Liz, and of course, Kala is here too. So our first item for the night is last month's email business.
I move
to ratify the April minutes motions.
I'll second. This is Gina.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Jan and seconded by Gina to approve last month's email business. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, our second item is the systems liaisons report. Rachel?
Yes, ma'am. Spoke with Ray today, and as the business office is basically just getting back to functioning, there is no system update report this evening, as well as currently there are no system issues that we are aware of. Ray did say that he would be following up, and hopefully we'll have something for next month's meeting, but please bear in mind that due to our economic situation that we will not be moving forward with the system upgrade as we had planned. So any fixes and or bug issues that we have right now is all we will be working towards resolution on. That's all I have. Do I have any questions from anyone?
Yeah, this is Judy. Why aren't we continuing with the computer upgrade? Because in the long run, we can't do anything until this is done. So it will impact all of our systems and all of our income.
Well, we are going to do that, Judy. Actually, it's not affecting our income, not drastically right now. We will get back to the system upgrade once we get our finances a bit more caught up and back in order. So I'm not saying we're not stopping the upgrade permanently. I'm just saying right now, in the next couple of months, I do not see us doing anything on the upgrade until our finances look better. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it makes sense. I just disagree with it. That's all.
Well, yeah, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. We still have revenue coming in from registry, some of which is done online. We still have income coming into the system from renewals, some of which is done online. So it really isn't affecting anything, the lack of following through with the upgrade. It isn't affecting anything that we had been doing. So that's
okay.
Right now, yeah, that's all I have.
I would just think since we had, like for the digital Aussie Times, we discussed it among the board members before we said, this is what we're going to do. Was this discussed? Did I miss it? I know you had suggested it, Rachel, that it was something you suggested, but I would think something as serious as this, something that's been worked on for years and years, and we've spent this much money on, we might want to have more input on before we just stop it, so to speak.
No, we're not saying stop it. We're just saying we're having a temporary halt on it until our income returns to semi-normal before we move forward, because the projects that we slated were to finish the SFW And that's going to take up quite a few of our financial resources. Hey, I can make a motion and we can vote on it if you guys want to. Let me take a look at it and we'll make a motion. I cannot do it tonight because, like I said, I'm in a dog trial. I was not prepared to make a motion on this tonight. I just followed up with Ray today. And basically, since the office is just getting back in motion, there has been basically no move towards the system upgrade, nor anything other than what we're required to do right now to keep the website up and running. We can make an emergency motion. I can do that possibly sometime next week and get a better look at our where we're going with the system upgrade and try to get a cost perspective of what the first portion of it would cost. If that's what you guys want, you tell me.
Hey, Rachel, I think one of the things Judy's asking is who made that decision to put a halt on this? Because it wasn't a board decision.
I don't think anyone made the decision, Rick. I mentioned that to y'all for the last 2 months. I mentioned it, and I'm like, okay, so we're not moving forward with the system upgrade right now due to our financial resources. If you did not agree with that at that time, you should have spoken up, because we were trying to keep people employed and keep them on our payroll. And so to me, that was the driving force for the last month or two, has been keeping people on the payroll and keeping ASCA financially solvent, not taking on more expense due to continuing on with the system upgrade. We do have to continue on with the website maintenance. That comes monthly, regardless. That has to be done. If there's any bugs that come up as a result of a system issue, those are resolved. If you guys want to move ahead with the system upgrade, you tell me what part you want to move ahead with. We'll get a cost estimate on it, and we'll put forth a motion and we'll vote on it. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just don't think it's prudent right now for ASCA to take on any more expense. Now, if you don't like the fact that I'm saying that, and you know, I'll look forward and determine what we can do monetarily, and we'll vote on a motion. Is that what you want?
If I may interject for a moment, this is Liz. Okay, so
Yes,
no upgrades could really be worked on at this time when the office really was not working for a couple of weeks, and then, you know, working half time for a couple of weeks. I mean, it was just not doable. I mean, even if we want, we have the money.
And Liz, I thought everyone understood that. We were trying to keep our staff employed. We were trying to basically keep ASCA going. And I guess I thought everyone understood that. A system upgrade requires time and effort from the business manager and each one of the folks that run each one of those desks to prove out, to determine if an upgrade is done, if it's working for their particular venue. I guess I thought that was the thinking of the board. I mean, our business office has been down for over a month. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, they were down for 2 weeks, and then
Right.
they were like working a little bit, trying to do the remote thing for
Right.
a couple of weeks, and they would not have been able to do anything on upgrades at that from remote. It's just not viable, not possible to do.
So Liz, can we go around and get input from each director then on how they would like to move forward on this?
Sure, we can do that, but I think that later on in the executive session, when Warren is going to present to us what is going on with our finances, I think that we will have a better idea of what we can do and we can't do. Because even if we want to, I mean, I have no problem with going forward with the system update, but if we can't afford it, we can't afford it. I mean, that's just the reality of this world that we're living in. So we have to look at the money first. We have to look
Well,
at how ASCA's finances are looking, and then, do whatever we can to, move forward with the updates after that.
Well, clearly that was my thinking. And clearly, and I'm not trying to run this. I'm not trying to say, well, it was my decision. I'm not trying to say that. I was looking at ASCA's financials after being, after everything has been dead for about 2 months now, and the lack of income coming in, the lack of show income. And I did look at the financials, and, they're basically about what I expected. And so I do not see how we could move forward at this point in time with continuing on the upgrade. I just don't see how it's financially feasible for ASCA. But I'm willing to listen to each director's thoughts on it.
Okay, so let me just go around so that everybody can have a turn.
Sure.
and have a say, okay? Denise?
Well, I remember discussing this I think a couple of the last meetings, the last couple of them, and I agree with what Rachel was saying, was that since the office was closed, there really wasn't access. And then before that, they were concerned about the finances, the financial portion of it, of working on things that were not currently the problem. So that's my best recollection, and I think that we should follow that. I believe it's important to keep ASCA financially as solvent as possible. And so to go forward with something that takes over our finances instead of our operations finances, I don't think is a wise decision. So that's my idea. Thank you.
Thanks, Denise. Gina?
I agree that we have to look at our financials, and we have to remember that this isn't over yet, the COVID, and at any time things can backslide and things can be shut down. So before we make any decisions, we do need to look at our financial numbers and see if we can even start to move forward. That's all I have.
Thanks, Gina. Jean? Yes, Jan? Jan? Are you there, Jan?
I am back. I'm sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think we need to look at our finances and then make a decision.
Okay, thank you. Jean?
Yeah, I don't think that we can make a decision. I mean, we can make a decision, but it won't have the proper information until we see what the financial picture looks like. And, even if things open up, it could be that our program income is going to be reduced, and that will significantly affect ASCA's financial picture. So I think we can make a better decision once we've heard what Warren has to say today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Okay, Judy?
I guess I look at it a little differently because we keep being told for years and years now that our computer system is ready to crash and just be totally unusable. And if that happens, we are totally sunk. It sounds like everybody's sounding like ASCA has absolutely no money. I mean, we have $500,000 in just checking and savings right now, plus other. So I think if there's a time to use part of that, and I'm not saying take the whole thing, but we've already spent a whole lot of money on this computer system, and I hate to see it bogged down now after 5 years and $500,000. I would think this is a good use of the funds that we do have, and if it's not, then why have a rainy day fund, so to speak? I mean, I'm just afraid our computer system is going to crash totally, and we're back to square one. And that's going to cost us a whole lot more in the long run than keeping up with some of these system upgrades. I just hate to see it. And again, I thought it was something that should have been discussed among everyone, like we discussed the digital Aussie Times. One person didn't just say, let's do this, and we did it. So yes, it needs more discussion. And again, that's just what I think. We have some funding. I think we should use it for that. Yes, and then I'll have questions for Warren when we get to the financials. Thank you.
Let me skip you, Rachel, and then I'm gonna go to Rick.
Yeah, when I was piggybacking off of Judy, I was by no means saying that I feel like that we should move forward. I feel like our finances are the most important thing that we look at. But that being said, us and ASCA have always made decisions off emotions. This was not really discussed in emotion, which if we voted to approve moving forward, absolutely, I would have voted against it because of this time. I have felt kind of sensitive about this whole computer upgrade from day one. I do not feel like ASCA has got its money's worth, and I still feel that way today. But that's all I got. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Okay, Warren?
Hi, yes, good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. So I agree, putting this in context of our financial situation makes a lot of sense. I'm happy to try to set that stage a little bit later and then continue the discussion. I will say it was my recollection that this came up, and I'm not familiar with the concept of voting in motions. I think some folks remember me sort of trying to get out of that at a previous meeting. So I feel like we kind of talked about it, and I was happy to let it go. Going forward, we'll be more particular, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm happy to talk about this later.
Okay, thank you. I'll go back to Rachel. But again, there was no motion to be made, in my opinion, because if the office is not open, then we can't have an update. We had to wait until the office was back 100%. Rachel?
Liz, this is Rachel. Yes, ma'am. I have written numerous motions over the last 6 years while I've been on this board. When a motion was called for that had a specific action attached to that motion, at this point in time, it was again, Rick, in my opinion, there was nothing that we needed to write a motion for until financially ASCA got back to the office working, things functioning as normal as they were. And then we were going to look at what was going to be our next step forward. Then you would have had an SOW from Inventive that we could have created a motion for. There was no deception on my part not to create a motion to stop this work. I thought it was well understood that there was no way to move forward with a system upgrade when we don't even have a functioning ASCA nor business office. So again, if that was a misunderstanding on my part, then that was what I understood. Thank you.
I also want to address this thing that Judy mentioned about the system being almost ready to crash. When we say things like that on an open session, that we are going to get all kinds of questions and comments and all of that. So, Rachel, is that something that we have to worry about? That is the system going to crash any moment?
No, the ADMS system is an old system. and it is running. We have people to assist with that. If there were issues within that system, that language is not used any longer. But we have workarounds that we've worked around with Inventive to help us to move forward. However, it is like any other system that could crash. And I can't say no, that won't happen. There's no way we could say that. But I will say that to my knowledge, at present, the ADMS system is functioning as needed, and we're moving forward. And that is one of the issues that we needed to address in the SOW, was finishing up to get the ADMS system upgrade completed and that data moved over. But that can only be done, Liz, as we do the upgrades to each venue. That is a long, complicated process. It is not something that's going to be overnight. If it had been, then we would have had it done by Frog Slayer. That has to be done as each venue's programs are upgraded in the system.
Okay, so that was a misunderstanding on my part, because I thought that when we were talking about, upgraded the ADMS, and we thought that it was going to be done already, and then, Ray said, no, we're not done with that yet. I guess I had not foreseen that you had to go into, do the whatever upgrades we need to do for each program yet. You know what I mean? It's like I thought you could take the ADMS and transfer and do whatever. But that's my misunderstanding. It's not.
No, ADMS had to be upgraded to Windows 10. And honestly, I thought that was completed too, but it was not. Okay. The Windows 10 upgrade is separate and above anything else that I'm speaking of. I'm speaking of moving forward to be able to delete, get away from the old ADMS system and move all of that into our new system. And that is the only way that we will at one time be able to step away from ADMS as we program into the new system for each venue and for each upgrade. Okay.
So
we're updating ADMS right now because that has to be done.
Right. So that's still gonna go forward.
Oh yes, ma'am. That has nothing to do with a system upgrade that's going to move forward that will basically eliminate the ADMS system and move that data into our system, into ASCA's current system.
Okay. Well, I thank you for that clarification, because I had it all bogged down in my head and I was not understanding how it works.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because if you were confused, I'm sure other people were too. So that's good clarification. Thank you. That's all I have right now.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep discussing this situation and see how we can move forward, or whatever decisions we have to make. Okay, so let's continue on with the agenda. Number 3 is the office operating procedures. As a reminder to the membership, to the members who are listening, last month and a half, we made a motion to have the office revise and update their office procedures for each position, and they had a deadline of May 1st. It took them a little longer, but I understand Ray sent something to Cala today, and I'm hoping that all the directors had a chance to look at them. And of course, I'm sure that some of us are going to have questions, and some of us are going to perhaps have contributions to make, or maybe suggestions to make at some point. So this is not something that I don't think we can finish today, but I'm hoping that you guys took a look So I'm just going to go around and let everybody talk about this so that we can figure out, what I'm going to go. Whoa. What I'm going to go back to the office with. So Denise.
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been on my computer all today because we had one of our facilities was robbed, and I've been tied up with that all day. So I have not looked at this. Yeah, I mean, it's all right, but it took a lot of time, and I just got home right before this meeting, so I have not had this on at all.
Okay. All right. Okay, Gina.
Well, I had looked before I left for work, and I think the old procedure manuals were what was sent, and I just got home from work, so I didn't have a chance to look at the new procedure manuals. I can do it in the morning or after our meeting.
Okay. Jan?
I did get a chance to look at them. They're quite in-depth and detailed, and did notice some of them put in more screenshots and things like that it looks like it's a very user-friendly for somebody who knows nothing about the program. I was scanning for a few items, but I seemed to see all the ones I was thinking of. I would like to thank all the staff for putting in time to get these products up to date, and look forward to them to continually be updated in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Jean?
Yeah, I read almost all of them, and I know that Ray said some are still being worked on. So I do have some questions, but like you said, we're not going to be able to solve all of that tonight. So I just thought I would put them in an email and send them. But it looks great, and as Jan touched on, these are living documents that should be updated, every time a procedure changes, so that way we have the blueprint, or new people coming in, or whomever has a blueprint as to how things are done in the office at all times. And I appreciate their effort. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jean. Judy?
Yeah, I'm kind of like everyone else. I have class all day on Thursday, so I just got home a few minutes before. I only scanned the couple of manuals that I had questions on, and like Jan, the questions that I had were fixed, answered, whatever. The new manuals are up to date. I think they look very good, and I'm glad that we're getting this done, since the office staff tends to change around quite a bit. This may make it much easier for them to follow the procedures and be able to do it correctly. I found them to be very detailed. So from what I looked at, I will look at more of them further, but I thought they were very good.
Okay, thanks, Judy. Rachel?
No, ma'am, I have not reviewed it all. We've been to a farm trial all day today, just finished 20 minutes before our meeting. So I will review them over the next few days, and if I have questions, I'll send you an email. Thank you. And thanks
Very
the
good.
office staff, please, for their efforts.
Yes, thank you, Rachel. Rick?
I just scanned through them a little bit. I didn't do any in-depth, but I do like all the screenshots. I think it'll make new staff coming in, their learning curve to be shortened, and I thought they did a thorough job. And hopefully Ray's looked over them too, and have kind of signed off on these and given his approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Warren?
Oh, hi, good evening. So I don't know too much about what the office does. So looking at these, it was they could be perfect or not, but it was interesting. I'm frankly impressed. There was emails a week or two ago, wondering if we were going to get anything, and clearly somebody put a lot of effort out. So I appreciate that. Having a manual is a great thing, and if we do have turnover, that's super. I know I've talked to Sarah. And so I looked at some of her sections, the bookkeeper, and she and I had talked about how transactions were processed. I'm not sure if I were going to pick it up if it's enough for me. I think in her case though, we already have a second in command lined up who's very familiar with it, so it's not going to matter. But that's something just of interest. I think at this point I would say we should be happy to have what we got.
Okay, thanks, Warren. Okay, yes, I browsed through them very quickly, and what I did see, I liked. I think that they at least were working on it, and they really tried their best. And I think that this is an improvement from what was there before. So we're going in the right direction. And I think that what I would like to do is that any directors that have any questions or suggestions to please put them in an email so that I can then send them to the office, and then they can work on answering the questions or see if the suggestions are feasible. So I think that will be it for this item. And I will, before I leave it, I will tell the staff that we really appreciate all the hard work. Okay, so our next item is the guidelines for ASCA-Sanctioned events. And what we have here is, well, I sent you some guidelines that we're gonna need to revise to make sure that we're all in agreement with it and send them out. But I really don't want to send them out until all the committees have sent their part, so that we can do it in one shot. And so also to make sure that all the guidelines are compatible with each other and not contradicting each other. So I guess I'm gonna go around and let you guys have a say. Denise?
Well, they certainly, there were several things. I'm thinking that some of the committees thought that they had to write the whole thing instead of things that were just peculiar to their committee. But I think that they did. There was a lot of detail put in here, and I think that I'd like to reread them and look at them, like you say, together and see if there are details that conflict with others, so that they're consistent across the board. But I know that the junior committee still has a couple items that they're working with, and I'll get those back to you as soon as possible. But other than that, it looks good. I'm glad that they're right on board. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Denise. Gina?
I would definitely like to see a waiver go out, that each exhibitor signs the waiver, much like what they had on the CPE that was submitted. I think it's going to be, we can't demand any of this, but we can provide suggestions. And I think our basic, what we should do is just, say they need to be held in accordance with federal, state, and local laws or mandates. The whole thing is starting to get messy. There's a lot of people in various states filing lawsuits against the government or various governments. I don't think we should go into great detail, but just that, that our affiliates should abide by the local laws and then have a waiver. That's it.
Thanks, Gina. David is working on that, so we should have something soon. We were trying to see if it was something that he could write in a general way so he could just stay on the entry form. But we'll see what he comes up with. And I'll as soon as he has them, I'll let you all know. Jan?
Yes, I look forward to seeing what David has to update our current release so that hopefully it'll all be in one place. And as far as all the information from the committees, I did provide agilities today, and many of the committees are concerned about making recommendations. To my committees, I tried to make sure that they knew that these were things that were against the rules that under the current rules. So agility, currently, you are supposed to drop your leash and not carry it. The other associations are all allowing that a handler has the option of putting a leash in their pocket with nothing dangling, stuffed in their pocket, and it would be an E. So they have done those types of recommendations. My tracking group also just felt that whatever was recommended locally and federally should be what be mandated and not adding any additional things. I really believe we need to keep this simple and have the general guidelines be suggested, and then the specific for each of the venues, directing and making sure that they know that those rules are being, I don't know, relaxed or changed for this temporary time of getting back to a normal. So I believe that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Jean?
Yeah, I agree with Gina. I would like to see a waiver, I think. And I know that David's working on uniform language for our entry form, so I think that will be a great addition. We need to stress that these are guidelines. They're not rules. They're not enforceable. These are, so, because I know that some of the committees are having issues with some people thinking that these suggestions go too far, and some think they don't go far enough. The ideal thing with guidelines is this is what we would like you to do, but it's up to you whether or not you do more or less. However, just like in most of our sanctioning things where where ASCA says they must comply with state, local, and other ordinances or laws, I think that we should be able to at least say that they should follow whatever practices or procedures or regulations are in force in their area at the time that the event is going on. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean. Judy?
Yeah, I think in general, the committees have done a very good job of tailoring things as far as what their particular program needs. I'm looking more at your document, Liz, about things where we say at the beginning that these are general ASCA guidelines, but then we say until further notice, ASCA affiliates are required to add to the premium a link to the local and state restrictions. Problem with that is those restrictions change every other day, and how are we going to know whether those restrictions are up to date or not? Plus, those are the restrictions in the state where it's being held, but people should be following the restrictions in their own state. So if your state is a shelter in place, you should not be traveling to the state next door just because they don't have shelter in place. It's still, you need to follow the guidelines in your own state, but it says we're requiring that. I don't really like that.
Well, if I may answer that for a moment, if you are traveling from one state to another, and that will happen, I mean, I can assure you that it will happen. They people must have some kind of idea of what's going on in that state. And if it's changing day to day, well, if they have a link, then they should be able to see whatever is changing day to day. That's the purpose of that. Just as I clarified. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, and number 5, ASCA discourages indoor events. That means you're discouraging most of the northern part of the country from having any event. I'm not sure we want to do that because it really depends on the facility. I understand there are some very small buildings that some people have things in, but there are also very large buildings that we have some in. And there are lots of places where outdoor is pretty iffy. You'll end up canceling the trial because of the weather. So I'm not sure that's also the right thing to do if we want people to do this. I mean, if there's enough room for social distancing, which we have, we're putting on an agility show in June, and we have more than enough that people can be 6 feet apart. And actually, most people aren't even going to be in the building. So to say that we should have that outside, we can't. We have nowhere to have it. So I hate to have people think that ASCA is discouraging trials if you can't have them outside. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Judy. Rachel?
Yes, ma'am. Again, I have not reviewed that very carefully. The only thing I will say is today at this trial, everyone that attended signed a waiver, a separate waiver regarding, basically holding harmless any issues that may result from us gathering. And the only thing that I want to be clear on is ASCA cannot place any rules that supersede locals and or state or federal guidelines. And so as long as we remain within state, local, federal guidelines, I think that we're okay, because if we go further than that, I don't think we have the wherewithal to be able to enforce it. Thanks, Liz, and everyone that's worked on this.
Thanks, Rachel. Rick?
Yeah, I think most of you know that I was against going to the committees with this from the get-go. You're not going to have any consistency. You're not going to have any normalcy when you start trying to deal with all the different committees and all the different things that they want to do or they feel like they should do. I love it that David's coming up with a waiver. I think that's our way around this. I think Gina brought that up. Yes, that's great. That's exactly what I would do. I've got 2 committees that were Rally Committee. Were very frustrated that they were having to come up. It's just like I think Gene said, or it may have been somebody else, what one person thinks is good, the next person thinks that we're not going far enough. And we shouldn't be putting our committees in this type of situation. This is something for ASCA to do. If it's nothing more than a waiver, yes, I agree. State and local guidelines, that's what we follow. And as long as we're doing that, I feel like that ASCA has covered themselves. You signed a waiver releasing ASCA from any harm. I know there was some discussion about a show in Texas where they were sharing the indoor facility with an agility club. The Conformation club said everybody in the building must be wearing a mask at all times. You must have social distancing. You must wear a mask in the ring, da-da-da-da-da. Well, then the agility club comes back and says, we're not going to ask our people to do that. We're not going to do that. So I just feel like a waiver, releasing ASCA, and following state and local guidelines, that is the only way to go. And I believe it's ASCA and the board to make that decision, not the committees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say,
Warren?
can I say something? Oh, I'm sorry.
Let me go to Warren so that we can finish the rotation, and then I'll go back to you, Gina, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Warren?
Hi. So I really, looking at there's wordsmithing, and I think each one of us has our own ideas. I'm not quite sure that it matters in the end. The idea of the waiver, the idea of the guidelines, I really like the cases where the wording is, we're leaving the decision to the affiliate, we're recommending to the affiliate, we're discouraging certain behavior. This is, I think, entirely appropriate for us to say this is what we think is best, but we're not putting on these events, and so therefore leaving some leeway is fine. I'm a little bit nervous when we talk about the law, the regulations, and the standards, and the variability between what our local, be it our town or our county, what our local governments are saying compared to the state and compared to the federal government. We're now in situations where we're getting into conflicts. And the statement of saying if we disobey a law, it may be impossible not to disobey a law at some point, just because there's going to be so many conflicts. And I think going forward, we're already starting to see these things being challenged in the courts. Is it a law if it's shown to be invalid in the future? So how do we know, even if they get a fine, does that mean they broke the law if the law is then later shown to not be a problem? Or even more important, what if we all as humans feel that law was really meant to be broken? So I'm really, really hesitant to use wording that's quite that clear. Where we say if the club is fined, there's many other ways to be sanctioned other than fining. And while they're all bad, they don't necessarily mean that what the club has done. And so that's why I love, may place restrictions, because I don't want to be in a place where some county sheriff decides one thing and then we're bound by it. So I like the flexibility in these. I think I might change a few words to be even more general or flexible. Someone was mentioning discourage is a tough word. You can just say it the other way. We believe that outdoor events provide a safer environment. We could wordsmith that till the cows come home. I think the general points there, I really like it. I think the waiver, in reality, probably doesn't do anything, but it's appropriate. And I think as a board, we have to do it as part of our fiduciary responsibility. So I'm in favor of that and look forward to seeing it when David gets it. In general, I'm in favor of everything that's written here.
Thanks, Warren. Well, I sent the document with the thought that I was probably going to have to change, the wording on a lot of stuff. And, I don't like to do that on my own. I think that it's something that the whole board needs to take responsibility for. So what I did basically was a draft. And so it's up to the board to, if you guys want to change the wording to be more positive or more negative, or we want to scrap something, that's perfectly fine with me. Like I said, this is a draft.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Usually this is I know, Warren, because you haven't, been with us for a while, but this is what I usually do, like, also with the statements and stuff like that. I sent them to you guys before they go out, because it is up to the board to, give, each director give us their opinion as to whether that wording looks okay or not. I write fairly well, but, I'm not perfect. So obviously, throughout, the last couple of years, I've had a lot of help from the directors in, getting a final draft of things that go out, done. So yes, so that was the intention of those. The other thing that I want to say, so that the members that are listening also know, is that these are going to be guidelines. They're not going to be rules. And we're not, let's be honest, even if we wanted to enforce some stuff, we don't have the personnel to do it. So and like Warren pointed out, this whole thing is crazy, the way that some local rules are different from the state rules, and it just becomes a really big problem. So all this is going to do is, give the affiliates some kind of template, and then let them use the template in whichever way they, prefer to do it. But I think that if the affiliate chooses to say that they decide to have a confirmation show in a small building, then if they may decide to put into effect some things like, we have to wear masks. So if that is the case, I think that needs to be in the premium so that competitors know ahead of time, before they send that check or that entry, what to expect at that show. So that's why, I think that it would be a good idea for affiliates to make sure, that if they're putting any rules in place or any, then they, or that the site has any rules in place, because that's another thing. Some of these places are starting to say, this is, yes, you can have the show here, but this is what we want you to do. So if that's the case, that information also needs to be on the premium, so the competitors know ahead of time before they decide that they're gonna, drive 300 miles to a show, that is going on. And so that, like I said, the link was with that, only with the intention that it will give information to the competitor, especially if they're going across state. So so that's all that I had for that part.
Liz, can I make a comment?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
I just want to get an understanding of where you're thinking. If David comes up with a waiver for all ASCA participants before they go to a trial or a confirmation event, or so be it, whatever it is, and we sign that event or we sign that waiver, is it your belief that an affiliate can mandate everybody wears masks, everybody social distance? Is it your belief that affiliate has that power after we have already signed a waiver? Can affiliate still do that?
Well, that's what we're telling them, that they can make the decisions.
See, I think,
So,
in my opinion, that's where we're going to get in the problem. When you try to mandate my rights after I've signed a waiver, and I'm not saying that I disagree with you, don't get me wrong, but I think this is where you're crossing the line, is you're telling me I've signed a waiver releasing ASCA or releasing the facility or releasing my neighbor next to me, but you're mandating that I wear a mask or I stay 6 foot apart or I do whatever. I think we're hurting ASCA. We're gonna lose participants. People are not gonna go. They're not gonna travel. They're not gonna do these things. That's just, like I said, I'm not saying I disagree with you, but I'm kind of looking at the other side, and I feel like we're going to be doing a disservice to our members.
well, I understand your point, but then if we are not going to allow the affiliates to make those kinds of decisions, that you're going to have to wear a mask or whatever it may be, or they may put little lines, on the floor where people have to sit 6 feet apart or whatever. So if the affiliates are not going to be able to do that, okay, then we as ASCA board need to tell them that we are not allowed to do that. And the problem with that is also, you're saying that we may have fewer people coming. Well, we may also have fewer people coming if they are not convinced that at least the affiliate is trying to do something to at least, kind of like have a safer environment. Now, I'm not talking about, extreme measures here, because of course we can discuss this until the cows come home. I don't know, or aliens invade. I'm not sure that we're ever gonna come into an agreement on extreme measures. But, you know, this is an iffy situation. And so I think that we are just going to have to discuss this very closely and decide what it is that we are going to allow the affiliates to do or not to do. Because my understanding was that the affiliate was going to have some, you know, decision making in this. But if ASCA is going to mandate you don't do anything, or you will do this, then we're talking a completely different story here than what we have been telling them for the last 2 months. So we can the waiver, to me, regardless of the circumstances, whether we wear a mask or we wear gloves or we stay 6 feet apart, it is not a guarantee that you would not get infected or exposed. So even if you do wear a mask or stay 6 feet apart, I think that we need to have that waiver no matter what. We need to
Hey,
protect
Liz,
ASCA
this
no
is
matter what.
Rachel.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Can I say, so today, this is my first trial. This is the first trial in the Southeast. We signed a waiver. The affiliate had masks and gloves available if anyone wanted to wear them. They were welcome to do so. They provided it. There was hand sanitizer in several different locations. And so, in my opinion, as long as an affiliate takes the step to do whatever their local laws are requesting them to do, and we won't know that. I think that they're acting according to the best practices. And so I don't think that we need to tell them, well, you can't do this or you can't do that. As we just discussed, they should be able to provide for their local suggestions to keep everyone safe.
Can I say something? This is Gina.
Sure, Gina, go ahead.
I agree 100% with Rachel. First of all, ASCA should not be mandating anything, and that the affiliate clubs, I mean, we're all adults. They can decide what they need and what they can't need. We shouldn't be telling them they have to do this or they can't do that. Every area is different. There's some areas that there isn't even any COVID in. It should be left up to them. I think Jan said, keep it simple. That's right. We just need to keep it simple. I think right now a waiver should go out immediately because people are starting to hold shows. And the old, you know, they have to have an additional waiver available so you can get around this, you know, mask if they don't have a mask or whatever. But I don't think we should mandate anything, and definitely not threaten to punish affiliates if they don't follow any kind of rules or mandates, or if they're fined. It's totally up to them. And then, like, as far as the link, that can get kind of messy too, because where I am, there's a trial in one county, there's local right there, 3 different counties and an additional state that would be attending, and they're all different rules. So that just gets really messy. People just need to use common sense. That's all I have.
Thanks, Gina. Well, if enough people, you know, are against the link, I'll just delete it. Like I said, that was a draft. And so, you know, what I do think is that if an affiliate, if we're going to leave it to the affiliate, you know, what they want to do, and they decide, well, we're in a small building, so we should wear masks, it's an example, then, you know, if ASCA is not going to prohibit them from doing that, which I don't think they should, that we should prohibit the affiliate to do that, that they should, you know, let people know. Because, you know, somebody who doesn't want to wear a mask may not want to go. or, you know, won't have to like drive the 200 miles or whatever. That was my whole point with that. But we can also change it. Like I said, this is a draft. And if everybody, you know, via email, let me know their thoughts and any suggestions as to how to change it and how to change the wording in some of these elements, then we can certainly go ahead and do that.
Well, I agree with what Rachel said the club did today. They provided all of the precautionary items for the participants: masks, gloves, hand sanitizer. But they did not mandate you had to participate in all of that. I agree with that. Thank you.
Okay. So do we agree to go ahead and you guys send whatever revisions you think, and then I can work on, you know, revising whatever, and then send it back to you guys for another look. And
I think that sounds great.
Yeah.
You want to give us a deadline just so that we'll sort of keep it moving along?
Well, we already have most of the committees now who, you know, the committees have done a great job on addressing the particulars for their sport. And so we should go ahead and take a look at it. Like I said, I'm going to be traveling a little bit in the next few days, but I will get to everything at night in the evenings to go ahead and look at what's going on. So I would think we really need to get this done as soon as possible. So I would think by maybe next Wednesday or so, have everything in. And if everybody does it before then I can get it done before then.
That sounds good.
Do we know when David's going to have his work done?
I can ask him. Last time I talked to him, he was working on it. So and I sent him an entry form so that he could look at what we have. That was a day ago, not yesterday, but the afternoon before. So I can go ahead and ask him, and so make sure that we can get the ball rolling on that, because that is, you know, it's a very important step. Okay. So now the next item will be the 2020 finals budget, and I'm assuming that everybody saw the budget. I know that there's some committees that have sent some questions to the consortium, and I talked to Peter today, as a matter of fact, just before I got on this meeting, and he said that all the program chairs are looking at those particular questions, and we have answers for them. So I'm not sure. I haven't seen, and forgive me if I just missed it. I haven't seen any questions from the directors yet, at least that I saw. But if there are any, then those need to be sent over as well, because now we are behind. Is that correct, Carla? We were supposed to like get that done.
Yeah, I mean, we have, so it says like basically the rules are kind of say that it needs to be approved 90 days in advance of the event. I think that was kind of the intent. So we really have kind of like a 3-month window for it to figure things out, but we certainly don't want to push it. You said that Peter has the information. I mean, I think that we could vote on this next month.
Okay. All right.
And it would be within the time frame. Be okay.
Great. Okay. So yeah, that's what I was not sure about, whether we were, you know, like getting too close or maybe behind or what. But if we're still within the period of time where we can get this done, then I would suggest to any directors that have committees that have not sent the questions already, if they have them, to do that, to tell them to do that as soon as possible. And then any directors who have any questions to go ahead and let me know. I don't know if you guys want me to go around on this.
Well, this is Gina. I just do have a question because I'm not sure of what ASCA pays for on the finals and what the, upfront, like the ring rental. Does ASCA pay for that, or does the host consortium pay for that? And I know they pay for ribbons. ASCA pays for ribbons, right?
Yeah, yes, ASCA, the office now is buying the ribbons directly. So Ray takes care of that.
So like some of these included ribbons, and what about like the ring rental?
I think that ASCA has traditionally paid for the ring rental for the days of the finals. So if there is a pre-show that happens the day before, the pre-show pays for the ring rental for that pre-show, and then ASCA takes over on the ring rental for the day of the final. That was my understanding.
Right, but the host club pays it, and then so they include it in the budget, or is it like the ribbons that ASCA pays up front?
Well, no, I think that the ribbons are included in the budget, but obviously ASCA pays for that. But I think that the ring rental actually ends up getting all of that getting paid by ASCA when the whole, receipts and all that stuff comes in after the nationals, and then it gets paid. And there's an amount that ASCA gives them from the entries for finals, right? So that they can get started on paying some of that stuff.
Okay,
but
that's all. Yeah, that's all I had for a question. So these budgets should actually have the ribbon costs removed from them, right?
Yes, the ribbons should be off that budget because
it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. This is Denise. Since I just went through this,
right.
Go ahead, Denise.
So what we did last year, there were a couple things different than, but there's a percentage, and I think that Warren probably is up on that comes from that amount that every show and every sanctioned event pays 25 cents per run back into that account, and there's a percentage of that comes to the club supposedly at the onset, so there'll be operating expenses. It didn't happen with us that way, but I think that was just an oversight. But the things that they did before with us was that Ray sent us a check for the total entry money, and then that was the only income that we had other than our sponsorships that were collected. And then the club has to claim those sponsorships as income, and the check that Ray gave, that was the money that needed to be claimed for sponsorships. But other than that, the club paid for all the rest of the stuff up front, and then they billed it to the finals at the end.
Even the ribbons?
No, the ribbons were not included in anything because ASCA pays for them.
See, that was my question on all these budgets included the ribbons.
Right.
Ribbon costs.
They should not. They should be subtracted from the budget.
Got it.
Yeah, the
okay.
ribbons need to be taken out. Yeah.
Okay, that was my question.
This is Jean. I think it's actually noted on one of the documents that Cala sent us that has the comments all on there. One of them was the ribbons should be removed, and then on each one of the programs it also says no income noted, no income noted, no income noted. Because in theory the club is supposed to figure the amount of the sponsorship that they're going to sell for all the finals awards, and so that should be included. I mean, I guess they could say we're not going to sell any, but that doesn't usually happen. So anyhow, that notation about the ribbons is in one of the documents that we have in our OneDrive. I just want to share that.
Okay,
Okay, I
thanks,
must have
Jean.
missed it.
I'll have to look at it again then.
Yeah, there's a Word document in there that says BOD comments on 2020 program finals budgets, and that's what I was, that's actually what I sent to Peter, that whole document. So at the top it says general comments, finals ribbons are paid for directly by ASCA and are not to be included in any of the program budgets. And then it goes in through, agility, confirmation, junior, obedience, rally, stock dog. And I went through and basically kind of distilled the information that the committees had given and, gave them clear edits and suggestions here. So that's what you guys can see what was given to the class club.
Okay, yeah.
And this is Jean. I realize I'm out of turn, but I just I have a question for Kala. When did we send this document back to the host club?
I think I might have sent it on Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, so it's been fairly recent.
Yeah.
And because okay, all right, thanks.
Okay, do I need to go around, or is everybody okay with this for now?
Oh, I have a comment, Liz. It's Judy.
Okay, yes, go ahead, Judy.
I'm a little bit confused because they do not use the same terminology for each program. For example, in juniors, they have a fee for mats, but they don't list a fee for mats in confirmation. So is juniors paying for the mats for the confirmation finals, or are they charging that under something else? But I mean, when you just look at each program, okay, it looks fine. But then when you compare the two, it's like, wait a minute, there's no mats for confirmation finals charged. There is mats for junior finals. There's an equipment charge that may be mats, but again, it's really hard to tell what they're charging for each program finals. I think that should be addressed.
Okay, thanks. Well, like I said, anything that the directors have, please, I did note that in my notes here, but it will be a sure thing if you actually email them or post them on the list, on the board list, so that I already have them all, I can put them all in one document and send them all to Peter. Because I think that you're absolutely correct, that, if there's a mat, they are going to be using mats, although I don't know how they're going to do that. So
yeah, again, I don't know.
Yeah.
And the thing was, I just got from my committee and sent to my committee, the confirmation. Cal sent me, I sent it to my committee. So I didn't get the juniors or any others. So I didn't actually put them side by side. Having them side by side like this in the OneDrive is really nice because you can look at each one and see exactly. So that's when it caught my eye, and I will put it in an email and send it.
that'll be great. Thank you. Okay.
So
Anyone
Liz,
else?
this is Denise.
Go ahead, Denise.
So I just want to recap on what I'm supposed to do here. So what you're saying is that you'd like us to make comments or questions about each budget and send them to you, and then you'll go through them. Is that what we're doing?
No, well, kind of, but no. What is any questions that the directors may have, they should put them on a post on our list so that we can compile them up and send them to Peter all at the same time. I'm not going to answer the questions, of course. I'm just, as the liaison for them, I'm going to just send it to them, and they are going to answer those questions, because those questions need to be answered if the board is going to vote on this budget here in June. Then we need to have all those questions and all those little details, like the one Judy just noted, they need to be taken care of.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I have several questions. So, okay, thank you.
Very good. Anyone else
Liz,
on this?
comment?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Rick.
Can we give Peter a deadline to have all these back, so at least we can discuss it and hopefully vote on it, maybe in the June meeting? Because I know if we don't set a deadline, we're probably not going to get everything back like we'd hoped for.
Sure. I just noted here, make sure he's got a deadline.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yes, and like I said, if we can get all the questions here, in the next few days, so that I can send them to him, then it should be very reasonable to give them a deadline that gives us at least a week before the June meeting to
Sure.
look at them. Yeah. Okay. Anything else on this particular item? Okay, we move forward then. The next item is the Counsel Committee. So for those members who are listening in, the board had passed a motion to have a Counsel Committee that will look at some of the things that are appropriate to go to Council, just so that we have some sort of supervision over the time that the council is using, and therefore, how that is hurting our expenses. So I believe there were 2 people, right? The committee is supposed to be 3 people, and the president is one of them. And then we were supposed to have 2 more people plus an alternate, right? So
Yes, that's right.
yeah. So if I remember correctly, and this thing is not coming up, I believe Jan and Judy have volunteered for it.
Correct, I did, Judy.
Yes. Jan?
Okay, so Jan and Judy have volunteered for it, but okay, so we would need 1 more person to be an alternate.
This is Gina. I'll volunteer to be an alternate.
Okay, all right. So these are appointments. So the board has to go along and probably make a motion on these appointments. So I'm not sure if I should be the one making that motion, or somebody else can make the motion to appoint first Jan, then Judy, then Gina for an alternate.
Hey,
Liz,
Liz,
I'll
this
make a
is
motion.
Rachel. I was going to say, I'll make a motion. I'll make a
Okay.
motion for one, and then Rick can make a motion for the other.
Sounds good.
I
All
can
right.
motion the third.
I make a motion.
Hold on. Go on, Rachel.
All right. This is Rachel. I am making a motion to add Jan Weeson to the Counsel Committee. And do I have a second on that?
I'll second it, Denise.
Okay, we have a
thank you.
motion on the floor by Rachel, seconded by Denise, to appoint Jan Weeson to the Counsel Committee. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right. Then for Judy,
Rachel, why don't you just go ahead and make them all? And I don't see a reason why
I'll do
to
that.
have
Okay.
different motions.
Well, typically we voted on each person separately, but I mean, that's why we would do
go
it
ahead.
separately.
Go ahead and do the next one. Go ahead and do the next one.
All right, this is Rachel. I will make a motion to add Judy Boone to the Counsel Committee. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
second
This
that
is
one
Gina.
okay, so I heard we have a motion by Rachel, seconded by Gina. That's what I think I heard. To appoint Judy Boone to the Counsel Committee. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, now we need for the alternate.
Yes, ma'am. This is Rachel again. I will make a motion to add, oh my God, I forgot.
Gina.
Oh my God, this is terrible. Gina Larson
Gina
as an
Larson.
alternate to the council committee. Do I have a second,
I'll
please?
second it. Jan
I'll second
seconded it.
Okay, Jan
That's
second.
right.
Okay, so we have a motion by Rachel, seconded by Jan, to appoint Gina Larson as an alternate to the council committee. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Great. All right. We'll be working actually starting probably next week, guys, because there's quite a few matters that people are asking for David to review, even with nationals and stuff like that. So we'll have to discuss these things. So, okay, next item, the 2021 Conformation Finals judges. I believe Carla has the slate. Could you let us know, Carla?
Yeah, I have the slate. It's in the Dropbox, and I also sent it out over email. It is Ken Silvera, Senior Breeder Judge from Oregon, David Clayton, Senior Breeder Judge from Florida, and Kim Birch Ryan, Senior Breeder Judge from Kansas.
Okay, that's our slate, and we're supposed to approve it or disapprove today. So we need to vote on it. Any motion?
I move, this is Judy. I move
Go
to
ahead,
approve
Judy.
the slate of judges proposed for confirmation finals.
This is Jan. I'll second it.
Okay, so these are the 20, it says 2020 here on the agenda, but it's, no, 2021, I'm sorry. I'm reading the wrong thing. Okay, so motion by Judy, seconded by, who was it?
Jan?
Dan.
Jan, okay. So motion by Judy, seconded by Jan to approve the 2021 Conformation Finals judges slate. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right. So our last item for open session today is a quick discussion here about the 2020 spring meeting. We had originally postponed it, but now I've seen that most of the board is in favor of just finishing it up through teleconference. So I think that if we're gonna do that, probably we should do it with a motion. So I guess I'm gonna go around first, and then, well, actually, does anybody have a motion, first of all?
This is Denise. I would make a motion that the spring board meeting be a teleconference meeting as opposed to a meeting in Texas face-to-face.
I'll second that. This is Jean.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Denise, seconded by Jean, to do the spring meeting business through teleconference rather than traveling to Texas. So I'm just gonna go around and we can have our discussion, and then we can go ahead and vote. So Denise?
I think that in view of what's happening with this COVID thing and the travel, there are several board members who are not comfortable flying to Texas. And for health reasons, I would certainly be one of those also. So I feel that we should stay as a teleconference meeting for the spring meeting. And it also saves, that much money for travel and hotel expenses for ASCA. So it's I think it's a win-win situation. face-to-face is always the best. You know, it helps build the relationship with the board, and it's easier to see the, you know, your intonation, your voice, your expressions when you're talking about things. But I think in view of this crisis that the world is in right now, I think this is the safest and most efficient way to conduct the business. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Denise. Gina?
I agree with Denise. I'm one that I don't want to go to an airport. My husband is extremely high risk. As much as I look forward to going to the business office, I think having, you know, finishing it up over a teleconference is the best thing that we should do this year.
Okay, thanks, Gina. Jan?
I think it's important in these times that we give up this great opportunity to be face to face with each other and make sure that our finances are covered and we can handle all these things on teleconference. I believe I've already sent all the per diem and flight monies back to ASCA, making sure that they have all those monies. I think it'll be saving a lot of money. And we've already dealt with several of the items on the spring meeting agenda. And I think our follow through on this will spread out throughout this month so that the meetings stay a short period of time, but we handle all the businesses important for this year. So I would be very in support of not having the spring meeting this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Jean?
Yeah, I think it only makes sense financially and from a health perspective for everybody if we just do, you know, everything via phone right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Judy?
Yep, cancel it for this year.
Okay. Rachel?
Yes, ma'am. For health reasons and cost effectiveness, teleconference is the best solution this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Rick?
I agree with everybody's comments. That's all.
Thank you, Rick. Warren?
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine with the voicemail. Can't wait to meet everybody, but we can put that on hold for now.
Okay. So I think that we can go ahead, and if there's no further discussion for the motion that's on the floor. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Okay, so that was our final item in the open session. We hope everybody's staying safe, and good night, guys. Thanks for joining. Thank you.